Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, you are here at our request to testify. As I understand it, you are active in the Sikh community in Toronto,
Yes.
and you have been since certainly early 1984.
Yes.
And there's no other way to describe it other than the fact that you're a leader within that community, having had a radio program and a television program for many, many years on community television.
Yes.
And, sir, I understand that you immigrated to Canada January 1st, 1984?
Yes.
And you had actually been trained as a lawyer in India. Is that correct?
Yes, I didn't finish my last semester.
Thank you. I'm just going to ask you to speak up a little bit if I can, please. I understand you didn't complete your final semester, but you had gone, but you were studying law.
Yes.
And when you immigrated to Canada, sir, you took a 2-year program in electronics engineering.
That's true.
And in what field did you work other than your work in media?
I work in the IT consulting business.
Okay. And now, today, sir, presently, I understand that you're not only active within the Sikh community, but you're also active within the wider Toronto area community, and that you have helped raise over $4 million for, is it the Osler Health Centre in Toronto?
It's William Osler Health Centre. It manages 2 hospitals, and one is just built new. And we raised $4+ million for that hospital.
And you played an integral role in that fundraising effort.
I'm the lead person in that fundraising.
Thank you.
Sikh or the community at large?
Specifically from the Sikh community.
Now, sir, just to deal briefly with your radio program, I understand that it was called Sir Sagar, SURSAGAR Radio TV?
Radio TV, yes.
And that's the network upon which it was?
It's on the Roger cable, and also it's, radio is the special radio frequency.
Okay. And just describe very briefly for the Commissioner, the nature of the programs that you had.
Yeah, the program which we did for 8 to 9 years, it's called Pak De Masle. And in English, I will translate burning topics.
Okay. And you correct me, sir, if I get this wrong. The Pak de Masle, I'm going to spell it this way, Madam Reporter, BHAKDE, next word, MASLE. Would that be correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Thank you. The nature of this program was essentially a talk show, a phone-in program where people would talk to you about current issues in the Sikh community.
That's correct.
Now, having immigrated in January of 1984, sir, I understand that you were not an Orthodox practicing Sikh at that time.
No.
You were clean-shaven and did not wear a turban.
That's correct.
And obviously that has changed. And I understand the galvanizing event was the Golden Temple.
That's correct.
Can you describe briefly for the Commissioner how that came to be?
Yeah, once this incident was happening in Punjab in the first week of the June, which is attack of Golden Temple, and that changed the life of myself and many of my community members. And because that incident break us apart, and it forced me to think about myself and my community.
And in those days, I'd like to mark it, sir, from the time of the Golden Temple to the time of the bombing of Flight 182, that time period, sir.
Yes.
You were active in the Sikh community in Toronto at that time?
I was getting active in the community at that time, right after 1984 attack. And in 1985, you know that in the initial days, you can do certain things, but you are not getting recognized by the community at that time.
Okay. Now, and to be clear, sir, you've never been a member of Barba Khalsa?
No.
You've never been a member of the WSO?
No.
You've never been a member of the ISYF?
No.
All right. In that time frame, as I mark it, between the two events, can you describe what the atmosphere was like in the community, in the Sikh community, in the gurdwaras that you attended, and if you can indicate which ones they were.
Before Air India bombing, or
After the Golden Temple, before the Air India bombing.
yeah, at that time, because everybody was so upset with the Indian government because they did it purposely in India to disgrace the Sikh community, plus to teach them the lesson because of Indian politics. So even end of May, they have an agreement with the Sikhs, but at the last moment, because they had already planned this whole thing for a year, like practicing with the Golden Temple model by the security forces at that time, so they didn't care about the whatever agreement they reached in the end of the May. But I think they was just buying out the time, and at the end they were planned to do whatever they were planned already. And they choose the day which was one of our fifth Guru's martyr day, and on those days there's many people goes to the gurdwaras, and it's not in hundreds, it's in thousands and thousands of people goes to the gurdwara. And they did not attack only one place where they think that there is a terrorist, but they attacked another 25 gurdwara. There was no terrorist in those gurdwaras.
Right.
And they killed even children in there.
Right. Now,
Because of that,
just a moment, sir. Because of that event, as you've described it,
yes.
I'd like you to now focus on the feeling in the community after that event up to the bombing of 182, and briefly describe that, sir.
Community was very, very angry about this, and they were helpless at the time. And I will say this state aggression, which was happened in the first week of the June, has a reaction to it. There was a reaction in Punjab, and there was a reaction outside of the Punjab and the other countries.
Leaving aside other places, I'd like you to focus on your experience in Toronto, and in particular, you would agree that members of the community were upset with what occurred in India.
Yes.
You'd also agree that members of the community reacted with the use of rhetoric. For example, people would be saying things that we have to retaliate.
That's correct.
In fact, at times, people would say things, would use in their speeches and in their conversations that we have to fight violence with violence.
Yeah, that's correct.
And, sir, you're familiar with a speech that was given by Mr. Bagri in New York, where he said that 50,000 Hindus should be killed to avenge the death of Operation Blue Star or the Golden Temple storming. You're familiar with that?
Yes, sir.
And while that was a speech, that was the kind of rhetoric that you might hear in the community in those days.
That's correct.
That having been said, sir, there were also members in the community who did not advocate the use of violence.
There was, yes.
There were members of the community that thought there needs to be a negotiated resolution to this problem.
That's correct.
So the view that the response ought to be violent was not universally held amongst the community, was it?
That's correct.
Now, I'd like to now focus your attention, sir, if I can, to the bombing of Flight 182 and the reaction afterwards. And firstly, sir, how did you find out about that?
It was early morning on that day when we heard on the news that there is an Air India plane crashed above the sea. And they also mentioned that there might not be any survival in that crash. And slowly we start learning about that it might be bombed. So it was a shock to us, and we were very sad about it, that so many lives has gone and disappeared in a second. And as we went into the community and discussed these things further, and I found that almost community at large, they have a view that it's not something which should have happened, but whoever has done it, it's not forgivable action.
That is to say, it's an unforgivable act.
It's unforgivable action.